Thank you for downloading this RealAgriculture podcast. Excite your crops with inputs from Excite Bio. Access nitrogen and phosphorus with Excite Bio's lineup of inoculants and ag biologicals. Since 2010, they've been helping farmers harness the power of the soil. Learn more at excitebio.ca. That's XITEBIO.ca.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 to Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Friday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, a big shout out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. We are broadcasting here today from Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers Reception at a great meeting, a collection of some of the brightest young farmers from across the country coming together to really celebrate agriculture. There's a competition as well. Lots of great sponsors. And speaking of those sponsors, we've got John Deere, we got Bayer Crop Science, CIBC, CN Rail, Sollio Agriculture, and Meridian Manufacturing. So big thank you on behalf of the organization and myself for making it possible for Real Agriculture to be at the meeting. Keynote address here at the meeting I'm giving as well. Going to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities for young farmers in the country. Got a bunch of survey data we're going to talk about and some of my thoughts. It's going to be a lot of fun. But joining us right now is Steve Cooper, who is past president of COYF. Steve, great to meet you.
Thank you, Shaun. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so how did you get involved in this? You're past president, so you've been around the track here a little bit. As you said, they put you out to pasture, which sometimes that's being past president. That's one of the best spots to be on the board. Okay, so how'd you get involved in the organization originally?
All right, so like just about everybody here, I'm alumni of the program. My wife and I went through the process of being named Ontario's Outstanding Young Farmer in 2010, which allowed us to come to our national event. At that time, it was in Victoria, and we were named Canada's Outstanding Young Farmer at that point. So that was the beginning, the getting in with the program. We were involved with our region in Ontario at different levels of the organizing, and in 2018, I got the tap on the shoulder to be on the national board, the board that oversees the program nationwide, and been there ever since and finishing up this year. So for some people that haven't been around Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers, what are some of the things that this organization does for the youth in the industry? So what we do first and foremost is the best way, Shaun, it was described to me when we had first won. In my neighbor across the road, a farm in Ontario, just north of Toronto, my neighbor's a contractor, and we were trying to explain how we won this Outstanding Young Farmer Award, and we explained it to him, and he's like, well, there is no Outstanding Contractor Award, and that's what really drilled it home for us, that this really meant something. So what we do is we're out and about in the countryside. We're all farmers. We're all running operations. When we run through the program, we're all under 40. We're young. We're not gray like I am now. You can't see that. But like I say, I'm on the older side now. I've been around a while. But we're looking for those amazing innovators, the ones that are really pushing the bar, making a difference. They own their operation at a very young age. They've got skin in the game. They're really unique operations, really making a difference, and it's all stripes. It's not one type of farm. It's not just a commodity farm. It's not just a small farm. It's, that's the commonality maybe. Everybody here is running good businesses, and we try to find those farms and recognize them.
One thing is, I didn't go through the program myself, but one thing I know in talking to some of the alumni is you really celebrate diversity. The diversity of operation is quite immense. Like, your finalists this year, they're not farming the same way. They're not, they're from different regions of the country. We're going to talk to last year's co-winners here on the program today, and I'm looking forward to that. I actually know the stamps quite well. Grew up not too far from them. But that's kind of the cool part, is that there's really no exact way to make it work in agriculture. There's a lot of different strategies, and you got to do what's right for your given environment and given situation. And you guys really celebrate that.
Yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head. I use the expression around our place, there's 1,000 ways to farm. So we don't really care what you're farming, but the commonality is every one of these folks here run great businesses, right? And we bring everybody together, you get this giant synergy of putting all these amazing farmers together. And holy smokes, that's where the ideas start to flow. And there's a hospitality side, and it seems like a big entertainment, a bit of a party, which it is. But the best entrepreneurs, the best innovators, it's a play hard, party hard kind of thing, right? Yeah. So even on my own operation, having been in the organization now for more than a decade, some of the best ideas for my farm have came from late night discussions with, I'm in the market garden, small livestock side of things, and some of the best ideas for my operation came from a 14,000 acre grain farm. Those things don't come into play, but the commonalities are good business, how we handle our HR, how we handle all the problems that all farmers have, like red tape and such. You get banging heads with people like that, you come up with some really strong ideas.
Wow. Very, very cool stuff. We've been talking to Steve Cooper. He is past president of Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers. Once again, national sponsors for the organization in this meeting: John Deere, Bayer Crop Science, CIBC, CN Rail, Sollio Agriculture, and Meridian Manufacturing. Steve, it's been great to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Sean. It's just like a notch on the belt for me being on this show, so I really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you and great to meet you, and thanks for your contribution to the industry and COYF as well. Okay, when we come back on RealAg Radio, we've got more from the meeting here in Lethbridge. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
Joining me now with Genesis Fertilizers, Terry Drabuc. Now, in times of high demand, Western Canadian farmers often face price pressure from U.S. buyers because of that competition. How does Genesis Fertilizers plan to alleviate that competitive pressure and create more secure supply for Western farmers?
Well, we don't plan on lowering the price. So the model is around the investor farmers paying exactly what they would pay today. So we would be competitive in that high sales, low manufacturing costs. We plan on giving the profit back to the farmer as close to the cost of production as we possibly can. So they're entitled to the product and they get the profit from the product. And we call it a closed loop system, which is actually really critical. It's unlike any other model that you can see around the world, because as the owners, they're also the ones who will take the product from the plant.
For anyone who's interested, how Genesis Fertilizers plans to deliver this, where can they go?
The best place is our website, genesisfertilizers.com.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM, broadcasting today from Lethbridge, Alberta, at the Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers meeting, a great gathering of farmers from across the country. And here's the beauty. There's a lot of young farmers under 40 here, but there's also a lot of alumni, and we're going to talk to some of that alumni. Well, we just heard from one past chair of the organization. We're going to hear for some more. We've got two co-winners from last year are going to be joining us here today on the program. We got Travis Hopcott, and we have Greg and Sarah Stamp as well. Travis is from British Columbia, and Greg and Sarah are from here in Southern Alberta. We're also going to hear from the Motherwell Award winner, which is one of the big honorees every year at this convention. Komie Hossini from Bayer Crop Science will also be here on the program as well. And the major sponsors of this meeting of COYF is John Deere, Bayer Crop Science, CIBC, CN Rail, Sollio Agriculture, and Meridian Manufacturing. So before we get to some of our next guests, wanted to have a look at some of the data points, the key characteristics that I identified in the keynote presentation I gave to the group on Friday morning. And I gave an hour-long speech. We don't have all the time to dive into all of it, but here's some things that I identified in some of our Real Agri Studies data as we look across all of the different age groups and what are some of the things they believe or their attitudes and behaviors around a number of different topics. So I got a slide here. Who is the younger farmer? And when I'm talking about the younger farmer, I'm talking about 35 and under in this case. So they are more positive about their current farm financials than their older peers, but they're actually more bearish when it comes to their overall sentiment towards which direction the commodity markets are headed going forward. All the other age groups were positive in October of 24, but it's farmers under the age of 35 that are they're more bearish, which I found interesting, even though they are feeling better about their current farm financial performance. They're less enamored with effectiveness of farm groups. That's something that I talked about in my speech. Farm groups have some work to try to bring those people in, the younger farmers, and get them to see the value of what farm groups are doing for them and their checkoff dollars. They see more risk, but less likely to have a plan. Here's what's also interesting. They see more risk in farming right now in 2024 and into 25, less likely to have a written risk management plan, but they also see 100% of the farmers that we sampled under the age of 35 know that if they had a risk management plan, it would actually reduce their stress load. Yet that's not enough of a driver to actually have that plan. So we got to connect some dots there and make sure people follow through with that formal business risk management plan. More likely to be engaged in learning and development. Face-to-face interactions important. So whether that's learning and development or that's dealing with a salesperson, face-to-face is very important. Now, this is one of the things that I think people assume, and they hijack the feelings and the beliefs of younger farmers. Say, well, no, younger farmers want this. And in this case, younger farmers don't want face-to-face. They don't want meetings. They like online. They want, text messages and don't phone me and stuff like that. And, on an individual basis, there is some truth to that. But we have found in our aggregated research is that actually they really desire face-to-face. And if you look at it from a sales perspective, chances are, if you're out there listening to this and you're a salesperson and you're selling to maybe a younger customer, and actually this goes for any age group, chances are they want more face-to-face time than you are providing them with. That's what our data has really shown. Not as into online buying as you might think was another characteristic. Communication is critical in business deals and farm transition. That really showed up when we talk about succession and farm transition. One of the key attributes or the key goals that younger farmers have when it comes to succession is communication and transparency. When you look at older generations, it's definitely finance and taxes. Okay, so you can see the differences in the generations there. More likely to want data in decision making. I showed a graph, amount of soil testing being done on the farm. And the younger you are, the more likely you are to be doing soil testing every year. And as you get older, you're still doing soil testing, but it's on a less frequent basis. You're more likely to want data in decision making, as I mentioned, and more positive view on trade, biofuels, and environmental programs. Okay, so still negative on environmental programs, but more positive, or maybe less negative, I should say, than some of the other people that are out there. So those are the interesting findings that we had from the data set. Some interesting questions and comments from the audience for sure. And which is always such a cool part about any speech. We looked at some of the challenges that they have, and one of the things that was brought up was the cost of land. And across Canada, according to Farm Credit Canada, in 2023, Canadian farmland values were up 11.5%. And with interest rates dropping, that's definitely not going to be changing anytime soon, for sure. When we looked at some of the transition planning when it comes to succession and younger people, We asked, does your farm have a written transition succession plan? And this is where there's a lot of comments from the audience. The younger you are, the less likely you are to have a written plan. And so even at the top end, 65 and over was only still 41% of people saying they have a written succession plan. That needs to improve. Under 35 was 27%. Okay. One of the other things that we had a real cool discussion in the audience was transition of operating decision making. And what we have seen at Real Agri Studies in a lot of our research is that as you're trying to transition a younger person on the farm into decision making and, having some accountability and being a part of the operation, the very first thing that gets transitioned to the younger generation is the seed purchase decision. You deciding what genetics are going to be planted on the farm. Number two is things like crop, herbicides and some of that crop planning kind of stuff. That's exactly what happened on our farm. I know for sure. The last thing, finances. And so I think this sort of indicates, or I guess showcases a bit of a hole that we have, is that why are we understanding the finances is one of the most critical, important components of successful financial sustainability from the farm's perspective. And so we should be working on transitioning and not maybe just a full out transition, like, hey, you take care of the relationship with the banker, young chap. But what we could do is at least involve them, expose them to some of those things earlier, right? It's okay to talk about money. It's okay that they maybe understand a little bit clearer some of the financial aspects of the farming operation, good or bad. Those are things that are held from some of the younger generation a little bit too long, in my opinion, and from what we've seen from some of our research. So that's kind of a summation of some of the stuff that we chatted about. If you want to find out more, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Okay, when we come back here on RealAg Radio from the COYF meeting, we're going to talk to Komie Hossini with Bayer. He is this year's recipient of the Motherwell Award, and we'll talk to him when we come back. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
Here's what Wheat Pete's word on RealAgriculture.com is all about in under 30 seconds.
It's wheat time. I love wheat time. I love wheat. Get that sulfur on. Get that seeding rate right. Get that nitrogen on your wheat right. Get that protein. Know your variety. Know when you need to put fungicides on. Pick your product. Pick your rate. Do the right job. Get this wheat crop right. Have a nice day. Grow amazing wheat.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. And we've been having a great time here in Lethbridge, Alberta, my home city. And we're at Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers meeting. Now, at this event every year, they give out an award. It's called the Motherwell Award. And I'm sitting here right now with this year's recipient. It is Komie Hossini. Hey, Komie, how's it going?
Good. Hey, Shaun. Awesome to talk to you today.
Yeah, so first of all, and Komie, you work at Bayer Crop Science. Bayer Crop Science is one of the major sponsors of this organization. I guess from Bayer's perspective, why COYF?
Well, we've had a fantastic relationship with COYF over the last 3 decades, I believe. And we were introduced. I have to give a shout out to the great Kim McConnell who had tied us in with this organization, and it's been a wonderful group to be a part of. To see excellence in agriculture every year is not only invigorating, but it's a shining star for Canadian agriculture. And so as Bayer, we've been proud to be a sponsor because you constantly see how agriculture is progressing. And these are the kind of stories we really hope the rest of Canada gets to see. And it's a positive affirmation of how strong our industry is.
You know, one of the things that I have seen here in talking to the people that are at the meeting this week in Lethbridge is just the diversity, showing, really kind of proving that there's not one way to succeed in this industry. There's many different ways. There's a lot of ways to structure your business from a revenue perspective. Yes, we have people that are direct marketing. We have people that are in commodity business. We got people that are, maybe doing something that's totally different than anybody else in Canadian ag. And I think that's what kind of makes it cool about the organization.
You nailed it. Every year I come, I'm always learning. You think you know one facet of agriculture, and something that is, like you touched on, is so unique to this group is the complete diversity, and they're all curious and they're always learning to do something better. So every time I come and I see alumni from decades ago, and they're still learning, and they're always leaning in and going, oh my gosh, this year's honorees are outstanding. Like literally, they're unbelievable, and it happens every year. And yeah, this is one of the few organizations I see across Canada where agriculture is really, really working well together. Right? It doesn't matter where you come from. That the amount of respect and admiration they have for one another is it's astonishing. And so I think these relationships that are built here do carry across Canada for years and years to come. And it's a resource I think we need to tap into more often.
Now, for you are going to be this year's recipient of the Motherwell Award. Talk about why, for you personally, this organization, you've dedicated time to it, personal time. What's your thoughts on being this year's recipient?
Well, I do have to say it's a complete honor, and if I'm being honest, more of a shock. I've seen the previous Motherwell Award winners, and I have a lot of admiration for them, and so I quite bluntly, it's an absolute honor. Coming in, I feel sometimes, as a little bit of an outsider, you're a sponsor of the event, but I've had the opportunity to create so many great relationships here. These are just wonderful people, and so I love coming back. This is honestly the highlight of my year, to come back with the Outstanding Young Farmers program and spend a week touring with them, attending the conference speakers, and just going deeper on their lives and their families. So for me, it keeps me very grounded in why we do the work we do in agriculture, and so it has not felt like work at all. I shouldn't tell my employer that, because it's one of the best parts of the year. But it's an honor because these are peers, and I'm not a farmer, and unfortunately I'm no longer part of the young farmer category, even if I could get in. I'm over 40, but it's these opportunities that have actually kept me deeper into agriculture. It's made me find a deeper passion for it, and myself want to be a stronger advocate when I do talk about agriculture to the public.
Yeah, this morning I gave a talk about some of the characteristics of young farmers, and one of the things I talked about is how younger farmers put a high preference on face-to-face. And I think this is you talked about some of the alumni have been around here for a long time, going to a lot of meetings, and how they're still learning from each other, and this face-to-face component of this really provides that opportunity to really kind of dig deeper. Like, hey, I heard you talking about what you're doing with your company or your farm. How'd you get to that? You can follow up and ask more questions and dig into that, which I find kind of fascinating and of incredible value probably to a lot of the participants here. So, Komie, congratulations on being this year's recipient of the award, and all the best to you. It's great to see you.
Thanks so much, Shaun. And I would just put one more plug. I mean, if there's any farmers under 40 or any family operations with up-and-coming members, I really encourage everybody to take a look at the Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers program, to get involved, to attend a regional event, because I think this is something that can not only grow your business acumen, but also your networking. These are wonderful people who are contributing to agriculture, and those of you listening, if you want to contribute to the growing perception and beauty of agriculture, I highly encourage you to reach out. Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers.
Yeah, very, very well put. When we come back on RealAg Radio, we're actually going to talk to last year's winning honorees. We've got both of them. We're talking to them when we come back. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, broadcasting today from Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers meeting in Lethbridge. I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, broadcasting from Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers meeting in Lethbridge, Alberta. And the national sponsors for the organization and this meeting are John Deere, Bear Crop Science, CIBC, CN Rail, Sollio Agriculture, and Meridian Manufacturing, and making it possible for us to be here broadcasting from the event. Tonight we're at the Galt Museum, beautiful view of the west side of Lethbridge, the university, the train bridge, and some of the real picturesque features of Lethbridge, Alberta, my hometown. So I get to go to a conference that's in Lethbridge. I don't need to get on an airplane. I'm taking advantage of it. Joining us right now is Travis Hopcott, who farms in British Columbia. Hey, Travis, how's it going?
Good, yeah, thanks.
Now, this is cool because we actually met last week at the Farm Management Canada AgX. So I was waiting to see who Travis Hopcott was, and here you walk in the door, and hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, no, I came so close to asking for your autograph, Shaun. When I first...
No, you're don't BS me. Okay, that's good. I appreciate you being here and getting a chance to catch up after we met last week. So, I guess tell us about your now. You farm with your brother Brad, and your sister's involved too, right? Tell us about the operation.
Yeah, so we're a third-generation farm between my sister, my brother, and myself. My parents are still quite heavily involved. So we're third generation. It's very diverse. So we grow cranberries for ocean spray. We have 72 acres of that. And then we're very vertically integrated on the beef side. So we raise our cattle. We process our cattle. We have an abattoir right on site. So we process our own as well as local. And then we retail all of our cattle as well through our own retail store, 15,000 square feet. We wholesale. We host weddings and events. We do a lot of tourism attractions. We do cranberry public tours, long table dinners, butcher workshops. There's a big tourism side to it. And we employ close to 90 people now, so it's pretty diverse.
That is amazing. So there's so many different ways I could take this conversation. The long table dinners, tell me about that.
Sure. So long table dinner, we take advantage of that as a fundraising event. So we do a lot of community outreach programs, and so our long tables generally go to one specific charity or foundation, Alyssa's Wish Foundation. So it's Child Youth Advocacy Center. And so that's just an opportunity to use our own products, use our local products, local wineries, for them to tell their story as well. And just it presents an opportunity for ones to get to experience excellent food at a country setting, but for a good cause.
Cranberry farming. Okay. Tell us about the process. I will admit this is one of the crops I know nothing about. So tell me about cranberry farming.
Yeah, I know. So cranberries are my baby. It's to me, there's very few crops that are as picturesque during the harvest process. So, but of all the intensively farmed crops, it's probably the lowest maintenance. Once it's very hard to get into, it's capital intensive. It takes 3 or 4 years to get your first crop. But once it's established, it's very low maintenance, very low inputs. When the varieties themselves last for decades, so there's a lot of talk about carbon sequestration, and so cranberry is a prime example of that. So you get it's a perennial. It's a dwarf woody shrub, you could say. And so we harvest generally in October, and of course we flood our fields to harvest our crop, and so we have to use a lot of water during that process. And then all of our cranberries go for craisins, so there's dried up cranberries. Yep. So they'll all get sent to a couple of receiving stations locally, and they get sent down south to get processed. So that's a very short summary of the process.
And the beef operation, you're also running an abattoir as well. Like you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we joke we've created definitely a bit of a beast. We think back to my papa, to Fred Hopcott, who started the farm and bought the farm in 1932. We always think if he saw what it is today, he would just, hopefully, it would be he'd be pleasantly surprised where it's gone from now. But yeah, so we raise, we're the whole process besides the cow-calf. Just doesn't make sense with the price of cattle in our area. So we raise them. But we don't tag them. We don't have a steroid injector. So we definitely lose half a pound a day. It's more costly doing it that way. And then, we process our own. But because we process our own, we saw an increase of 3 to 5% in yield, just with the lack of stress of the animal. And then we dry age everything. So again, a more costly process, but we find that there's a difference in quality and the customers agree. And then we retail everything. Yep.
I always think about, when I think about BC agriculture, very diverse. If we include aquaculture, I learned at the AgX conference that over 200 commodities. Okay, so it's incredibly diverse. You're also close to one of the largest populations of people in Canada, the Vancouver area. So it gives you an opportunity to do some, and plus you're constrained by the cost of land. Like in your area, what's the cost per acre of land?
In our relatively small town, Pitt Meadows, it's a bit unique. It's maintained its value, whereas other areas have gone down a little bit. So, but there's a 15-acre parcel with a very old house just sold for $3 million, so roughly $200,000 an acre. But that includes the house, though. So just bare land, $130,000 an acre, something like that.
So expensive. Like let's be honest, we could say it's expensive. So just saying, we're gonna increase the farm by 20%, not easy. So you got to be creative. Is that kind of what spurred you to do some of the things that you're doing? It's you in order to have that growth mindset, you got to do some different things than just say we're going to farm more acres.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, farmers, I think, have always been entrepreneurial. They've always had that grit and tenacity and that ability to balance. Not afraid to take a risk, but afraid to lose it all. So, but for us, it's also being opportunistic. And so my dad, when Mad Cow, the event in 2003 happened, that's when we built our store. In 2004, we broke ground, and then we opened that in 2006. But even before that, my dad was diversifying. We had the Corn Maze attraction. So we definitely, it's sort of the saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And so we have 2.5 million people within a 40-minute radius. So we thought, here's an opportunity to offer a unique product that's direct. We can tell our story, so it has purpose behind the product. And so that's what led to what we're doing today.
So I'm going to out you here a little bit. Last week we had a funny moment. I'm on stage doing the live version of RealAg Radio from the Farm Management Conference, and I had told the story about how I am the most unmechanically inclined farm kid known to man. And I will challenge anybody in that room, this room, pretty much any room I walk into, that's the case. And as I'm saying this, your wife, Sarah, is like pointing to you like as if maybe you could challenge me. Like she outed you badly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, our wives are great for keeping us humble, right? So it's, I may have to I love my dad. I may have to out him as well. That's where I followed. When it comes to, we're just not mechanically inclined. We're so embarrassed to say that as farmers, just by where we are. We always let the experts give their expertise. So we always had someone that already knew how to do the job and do it well, and we knew what we were good at. And so we just let them show us. So anyway, that's why that's why I'm one of the less mechanically inclined.
Don't be embarrassed. We wear this you and I will lead. We will wear this badge with pride, and we got a bit of a brotherhood here. The fact that we can say that we are. I'm the same way, and my dad was. So I have no idea how none of that got down to me, and it still frustrates him about how I'm like that. So, how did you get organized? How did you get involved in the organization?
Yeah, so I have to thank my wife for that. Connected us with the OYF, and because I was getting later on in years, at least according to the program. So at 39 and my brother at 37, we applied to compete in the Yukon BC regional winners, and then which led us to nationals in Quebec. And then we're very fortunate enough to be co-winners with the Stamp family from Alberta. So it was a Western Canada sweep, you could say. Yeah.
Good stuff. And so the one thing I really noticed about this group, it's a very strong network. People are walking in, they're giving hugs, and hey, how you doing? And you probably haven't seen them since last year's meeting.
Yeah, I mean, even all the regional winners from last year, we organized an online chat, and that still remains pretty active, and it's been a year later, and we all met for the very first time at the national event. And so the networking was one of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of OYF, to be around the best growers in their age bracket in the country. Yeah, so I think we all recognize that, and so that's why I think we definitely just bounce different ideas off each other. So we appreciate what everyone offers.
Yeah, because a lot of times if we just kind of stay in our own bubble, and you're always just maybe it helps to learn some diverse thought, business practices from people that are going through different, probably the same challenge in different areas. And whether the farm is smaller than you, bigger than you, they're in a different commodity than you are, there's a lot you can learn from your peers.
Yeah, we generally have the same challenges, succession planning, business structure, and I think any peer group, you should have some type of outside industry input. And I always love being the stupidest one in a room, because that just means I'm learning, and so that's why I enjoy this group quite a bit, because there's always something that could be applied to our specific situation.
Travis, I hate to break it to you, but I've known you for a week. I do not think there's many rooms you walk into where you're the dumbest person in the room. So there is that, man. Hey, really appreciate you joining me here today. It was great to meet your wife, Sarah, as well. Hey, all the best to you, and enjoy this week's conference.
Thanks, Sean. And thanks so much for all that you do in educating and bringing the stories of agriculture to anyone that's willing to listen to you. We appreciate it, and I hope you keep doing your thing.
Hey, I appreciate it very much, man. That's very nice of you to say. We got a lot more coming up here on RealAg Radio, broadcasting from Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers meeting in Lethbridge. Next, we're going to talk to another one of last year's winners. We've talked to the Hopcotts. Now we're going to talk to the Stamps. I've known them most of my life. We'll get an update on how their farm is progressing, some of the cool stuff that they're doing. You're listening to RealAg Radio, World Radio 147, Sirius XM. If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters, and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on Sirius XM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, broadcasting here from the COYF meeting in Lethbridge, and we're having a great time. We're gonna dive into. I've actually known this couple for a very long time. They are winners from last year at the COYF competition. We've already heard from the Hopcotts, and now we're going to hear from Greg and Sarah Stamp of Enchant, Alberta. And if you don't know where that is, you're missing out. My mom actually grew up just a little bit further south of Enchant in Sundale, Alberta. If you know where Sundale, Alberta is, then you really know your Alberta geography. But Greg and Sarah, it's great to chat with you. Greg, all the best. How's it going?
Great, Sean. Thanks for coming to Lethbridge. You live in Lethbridge.
Yeah, thanks for coming across the river, Sean. That's good. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so this is an organization that I know, Greg, your dad's been heavily involved in. It's an important organization to him, but why did you get involved?
So we've always known of the Outstanding Young Farmers program because my mom and dad were actually national co-winners in 1998. And so we've always kind of known of the program or attended events. And then we were nominated over a year ago. And then we're co-winners last year in Laval, Quebec, along with the BC couple, the Hopcotts. Or not couple, sorry, the family.
We're good, don't worry. Okay, Sarah, what have you gotten out of the organization and coming to some of these events? Last year, obviously, a big meeting where you and Greg won. Why do you think this is pretty cool?
I think that the OIF program is really, really neat as a couple. Well, networking, of course, the people that come here are just outstanding and amazing and so supportive, and they just draw you right in and you feel like they're friends before you even know who they are. But personally, it was kind of neat for us to be able to take a step back and look at why we came to the farm and kind of remember some of the hard times to where we got to right now. And it helped just helped me personally feel that I had a part of building our farm together with everyone else. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Even writing our story, it was talking about our business that we dealt with you when you were in the seed business. From us trying to contract grow some seed for you to all of a sudden, a few years later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we need contract growers for us. And the tables turned, and we always looked up to what your family did in the seed business and tried to copy it.
Well, I'm not taking any credit for your success, but maybe you pushed me out of business. Is that
No, I don't think so. But we always, you always look up to other people in the industry. So when you come to an event like the Outstanding Young Farmers events, provincially and nationally, you come to these people and they're so willing to share their story, what they did, and I'm like, wow, you guys are making money doing that and that's farming. That's amazing. Like I'm just blown away by the stories of the people and how innovative they are. So you hear from those people and you get inspired.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like, in some ways, like a business peer group. Like we talk a lot on Real Agriculture about the benefits of peer groups. But what's cool about this one is you get to appreciate the diversity of agriculture. And I say a lot of times in my speeches that, if you're talking about airlines, they're kind of all the same. Like WestJet and Air Canada have, different paint on the outside of the plane, but they kind of operate the same. We're talking about farming. There's a lot of ways to make it work. All shapes, all sizes, different commodities, different angles. There's people marketing direct to the customer. There's people that are, just in the commodity business. There's people that are got a whole bunch of side hustles that are, sort of an extension of their farm. Really, Real Agriculture in some ways was an extension of our seed brand is how I kind of got started. You really get to appreciate, Sarah, just the different stories that are out there.
I love the stories, and I love the stories of the individual farmers and the couples and the farm wives and how we just can come together and you kind of have that peer group and bonding over things that maybe some other people can't truly understand unless they've lived through some of those hard times and some of those experiences. And you come and you just feel so filled up.
Yeah, good point.
Tied to that, like Sarah loves the story and the people's stories so much that she's actually started her own consulting business. So plug, thank you, Sean. Sarah Stamp Farm Consulting. So she's going to deal. Tell Sean what you're up to.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to deal with the conflict resolution and making sure that, especially new farms that are coming, that you can focus on your personality and seeing how your personality impacts the people around you and how other people's personality you're going to actually have to maybe change the way you talk to them and maybe change the way, and just some of the same words that you use are familiar. So putting people on the common ground, helping them with their business governance, just making sure that those things are in order so that working towards transition or succession, they have a really good, strong basis where they they can have conflict conversations, because I think a perfect family business isn't one without conflict. I think that's a dysfunctional family farm, whereas I think every family farm has conflict, and you just need to know how to deal with it and have grace to know how to deal with the people you're working with.
Oh, that's so true. Right? I think too many times, you know what's worse than too much conflict? Is none. Right? But you have to, in Patrick Lencioni's book about, teamwork, you have to have trust first. And if you have that trust, then you can have that conflict that gets you kind of hash it out. Iron sharpens iron, so to speak. So one thing and because I know your farm well, I kind of skipped over it here a little bit. You got to tell us about the operation. What's going on at Stamp Farms?
Sure. So we farm with my two brothers, Matthew and Nathan, and my parents, Richard and Marion. And so we're a pedigreed seed farm, mainly irrigated and some dryland in southern Alberta, based at Enchant, and we sell seed across North America. So it's amazing how far seed travels nowadays, actually. So we would grow crop types from hybrid fall rye, winter wheats, durum, spring wheats, barleys, flax, lentils, faba beans, peas. Do you have more time? Like mustard, basically anything that a farmer could buy for seed, we are selling.
Not cotton?
No cotton.
Okay, rice?
No.
See, I got you there. Okay, we're good.
You're too broad.
You're doing a lot of stuff. And so are you selling directly just to farmers, or is there wholesale that you're doing as well?
Yeah, most of our business is direct to farmers, but we do work with other partners, whether it's, say, contract seed production. So we have some companies that come to us and say, hey, we need this much seed of this, say, for instance, mustard or malt barley. Can you get it produced and ready for retail sale or wholesale to their end users, or we sell to the farmers who are contracting with that company. So it's kind of direct to an end user who is then selling it to the farmer, or as certified seed, or it's working with that company to provide that variety for their, say, malt barley contracts, like Molson Coors, and just retail sales to our farmer customers. And then providing some agronomic support. The farmers love, okay, how do I grow this crop, or what are you doing that's different from me? And I learn as much from the customers as they learn. I learn more from our customers than they learn from us, honestly.
Now, how have you set up the management of it all? Is everybody kind of responsible for an area of the business, or is there a lot of sharing in terms of responsibilities? Who wants to tackle that one?
Good, sure. Yeah, so we have a CFO, Mel Dewick, and so she oversees a lot of the financial side of things, and then Nathan Stamp, my brother, is our farm manager, and then Matthew Stamp, he takes care of some operations and seed cleaning and a little bit of business operations with Mel, and then I'm seed sales manager and work with Blair, our seed salesperson. So myself with Blair and Lauren, our front office, we're kind of the sales and shipping kind of team in the office side, along with our whole seed treating crew, and there's 19 people involved in the farm full-time, and then seasonal people, we might add 5 to 10 people at certain times of the year.
Now, Sarah, you mentioned there's great times, there's tough times. I think all farms have been through those different periods and will going into the future. Talk about that, how that adversity that you go through really strengthens you as you move forward from a business.
So when we first came back to help to see if we can make our family farm viable again. They're kind of coming out of the 80s. They're not in the 80s, the 90s.
Sarah, you're not that old. Sarah, you are not that old.
The potato, I don't know. They were struggling. I'm not from a farming community. I was just a city girl from Calgary, and then I married into the farm. And so we came back, and I was like, let's give it 5 years, and we'll see where we go. We knew we wanted to have a family out in the farm, and whether we do it or not. And so for me, it was really neat to learn to come in at a time where we had to build something up, because it gave me an appreciation for the work that it takes to make something succeed, and the time it takes to build a business and all the different ways that you could add people. So we knew that we wanted to make sure that the farm would be big enough that we could welcome back the brothers or Greg's sister if she wanted to come back to the farm. So it was a really neat learning opportunity for me to see the different avenues, what agriculture even looked like, and how you could bring value add into our business, and the adversities and the challenges that we faced, and it was like Southern Alberta drought and and hail, and then overland flooding, and like anything that could happen, it felt like happened. And when we were in it, I think we just thought, I knew I was a farm girl when I said maybe next year will be better.
Yeah, you're fitting right in there. There is always next year. And Greg, I remember when you came back to the farm. As you look back and see where you are now, it's got to feel like you got to have some real sense of accomplishment. And the story's not all written yet. Like, you're a young guy. You still got years in you, for sure. Many harvests to go. But you got to feel at this point, if you really truly reflect, you got to be pretty proud of where you're at this point.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Shaun. When we came back, I mean, it just wasn't. The farm had struggled around the year 2000, 2001 there, and it kind of took 10 years to kind of restart. But we kind of put it all. Sarah had a house in Lethbridge, and we used that to kind of start farming and join my parents in the farm, and so we were kind of all in from the start. And it definitely wasn't easy for the first 10 years, but really the last 10 have been amazing. But it just takes such a commitment and a long-term view. It's like, well, where do you want to be? You always talk about writing down your goals, and I've heard you talk about that, right? So we had a plan, what we wanted to do, and you don't always hit all those goals, or it takes longer sometimes, but really, if you don't have that written plan of where you want to be, how are you going to get there? And so we really did have that, and it exceeded our expectations, and just kept the snowball kept growing. It seemed like, but we have a hard time saying no to things and people, and just even like being nominated for this. Well, tell agriculture's story, have people say, oh yeah, let's do that, or we can do that too. So
it makes it personal, right? Like I think it gives an opportunity outside the agriculture community that for them to understand a little bit about what agriculture looks like. And then you start talking about the people you're nominated with, and you kind of share a little bit of their story. And then the broader picture of all the different avenues of agriculture is just amazing. Like, there's pork farmers, and there's, I'm not really a farm girl. There's hog farmers and beef and cattle and crop and
cranberries.
And
so you get these from very tiny farms to very massive operations that built a big abattoir, and so you get every avenue of farming that is completely possible. And then you look at it and like, okay, and they're somehow making it work, and it's amazing.
And even the different ways people make it work. So then there's the Hopcott brothers and their sister that works together, and the Saskatchewan family, that's the brother and the sister and their brother-in-law that are making it work, and all of our brothers that are working together. And then there's couples too. It's really neat to see the success of different avenues. There's just so many different ways you can farm.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to you both. I really appreciate you sitting down with me and having this chat, and wish you nothing but success in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shaun.
It's been a fun evening here at Canada's Outstanding Young Farmers reception. Really appreciate the invite from the organizing committee. And once again, national sponsors for COYF is John Deere, Bayer, CIBC, CN Rail, Sollio Agriculture, and Meridian Manufacturing. So big shout out to all those sponsors that step up and support an organization that is really supporting and growing and really celebrating young farmers that are thriving across the country. If you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture all across social media platforms. You can also call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio. We'll, of course, chat again next week. Cheers, everybody.